Hi, everybody. I'm here today with Kevin Mountford. Kevin is co-founder of Raisin UK, a well-known northern savings platform. Kevin also sits on our advisory board here at FinTech North and has been helping us with our strategy and helping develop a plan for the future of FinTech North. And I just want to start by saying a massive thank you to Kevin for sharing his expertise and spending his time working with us here at FinTech North. Just so that the community can get to know Kevin and his business a bit better, I just wanted to ask him a few questions, really. And the first one's quite an exciting one. Kevin, tell us about yourself, please. Tell us your story.
Well, yeah, thanks for the introduction. A lot to live up to now. You've said it's that exciting. I think what is interesting is, and maybe others have said the same, that you don't necessarily set out to say, oh, I want to set up and run a fintech business. I mean, back in the day, I don't even think the terminology was ever even known, but I started life in business banking and then retail banking, mainly in sales and marketing, and really, really interesting times. Part of the Bank of Scotland, operating in England, Wales without a branch network. It was all about distribution through third parties. So I'd managed things like Sony credit card and working with GE Capital to promote loans, etc. And so that was great. HBOS was born, and then they called that business. And whilst I tried to engineer an exit for myself, I failed miserably. So I went as head of sales and marketing of Birmingham Midshires savings business. And then after a while, I ended up at Money Supermarket. And that was fantastic times for a number of reasons. It was around the time that the business IPO'd. So you suddenly start to realize the different pressures, the requirements on the main stakeholders there. It introduced me into the world of PR. I was a spokesperson for the business. So you extend your network accordingly. But although I'd been in sales and marketing roles, it made me look at things differently. So the kind of things that people put in the browser was very different than the kind of language you were using from the banking world. And we saw, I think after 2007, there was a real desire to move from product centric to customer centricity. And I think fintechs have enabled businesses to kind of accelerate that approach. Did I get bored? I don't know. But I'd always had a desire of setting something up. So I met a bunch of guys. They were looking at forming banks in Europe and using passporting to promote their products. This business was set up in Malta, of all places. I bit the bullet and decided, come on, let's set up a software and marketing business that could help support their ambitions. And that was my kind of baptism of fire when you realize you've not quite done the due diligence that you should have done. They failed to fulfill their obligation. They didn't get the banks off the ground. So I thought, what the heck do I do? And I still believed in what we were trying to achieve. The business at the time was me and a young lad. We brought the business to the UK, walked around the streets of London, got some clients, etc. And then part of my contractual obligation was to build a software, the platform, origination platform. We didn't have any developers. So I ended up in Manchester, found a couple of PHP developers, and it worked. And then the business grew at a reasonable pace. We got second, third contract. And we didn't really need the additional finance, but we took some money through Northwest Digital Fund. And that really gave us the ability to bring in a third party. They lifted up the bonnet, really had a look at the business, and there was a few changes that we brought on. So it was great. And as I say, that was my first real introduction of working in Manchester. And we were beg, stealing and borrowing office space. And then we moved on, and we're now in a third office in Manchester. And then it was a case of either going out, getting more funding. We needed to develop the business model a bit. And then by chance, I was chairing a conference. I met one of the co-founders of Raisin GmbH, a German-based business. And September 17, they bought out my old business. Raisin UK was born. Wow. We are where we are today. So just to complete it, I'm still working in the business, co-founder, corporate ambassadorial role. but they've also given me the opportunity to take on some non-execs. So I've got 3 non-execs working with a software business called Mutual Vision out of Wilmslow, working with a really exciting, relatively new business called Collective. And then last but not least, I joined a credit union called Castle Community Bank. And that's been great because it starts to, you feel that there's a social purpose and a community spirit around it. And as you said, then I work with FinTech North and hopefully add value on the advisory board.
No, definitely. And, it's that community-led, aspect can kind of brings us full circle back to that customer centricity, doesn't it? I think that certainly gets me excited at FinTech North when we're talking about some of these things. Thanks, Kevin. That was fascinating. Next question for me then, and just to bring the focus back onto FinTech North. What are your thoughts on FinTech North?
So I guess to kind of really answer that, it's to get the context. And as I say, when I came into Manchester, we needed to hire people. I didn't really know that many people within the city. So again, you're kind of reaching out, understanding where to turn, either to move premises or get some ideas on funding or finding new talent. And over time, I met Julian, got an understanding of what he was doing, went to a couple of events and really started to appreciate there was an evolving kind of hub of community within Manchester and the Northwest. And so basically I got introduced to FinTech North. The opportunity to join the advisory board is really exciting. I think we've now got a really good mix of individuals with a wide variety of experience. And hopefully, as I say, we can work together collaboratively to help not only Manchester, but the Northwest to thrive, because it's really exciting. And the other thing that happened, I was speaking at a conference in London, and FinTech was kind of vogue. Even the event was morphing into a FinTech event per se. But the general feeling was they all started and finished in London. This just is not the case. No. So I think now FinTech North is helping the North to create a real identity. And there's some great talent, some really exciting businesses. And I genuinely believe FinTech North can help to make a difference.
Amazing, Kevin. Well, I think that leads nicely onto my next question, which is that what do you hope that we'll be able to achieve together in the coming years?
I think clearly from an advisory board point of view, we've done some exciting stuff. We've created, clarity, I think, in terms of what the mission and the purpose is. I think that's important, and how it can help to collaborate with similar type of organizations. But I think the agenda is reasonably broad. I think it can help to lobby and work at a local level to really get an understanding of what the opportunities and pressure points are. I think the fact that it can represent, kind of small, medium, large, established businesses, but also startups is also a real positive. But I think the kind of hot topics at the moment is, and I've been through it, how do we get funding? How do we find talent? And you and I have discussed it recently that this isn't just about people coming out of university. It's making sure they are ready to fit into these fast-moving businesses, and also helping to articulate the excitement that exists in the sector, because you're competing with established corporates, so they've got all the benefits that you'd expect from established business. And what you're really after is like-minded people that've got that entrepreneurial spirit. So I think there's lots to achieve. It's like everything else. It's just getting the prioritization right.
Prioritizing the priorities in a way, isn't it? No, that's a great answer there, Kevin. So I suppose final question then from me. What do you see as the main opportunities for FinTech in the North at the minute?
By default, from a geographical perspective, FinTechs, they break down all the barriers. This is a global phenomenon, and I think at the end of the day, we shouldn't lose sight of that. But what you're really trying to demonstrate is that there is the infrastructure, there's the talent and experience in the North to attract businesses. So whether it's overseas businesses coming into UK, whether it's startups or whatever. So I think you can create an identity. And I've seen it, Manchester, in particular, Leeds, Liverpool, and other areas. The fact that the atoms of this world started up in the northeast. I think people have realised that you can operate outside of the southeast. Things are commutable. I think what we've seen through COVID is showing that a more flexible approach to working environment and practices is also a positive. So I think we are and will continue to put the North and the Northwest strongly on the map. So the future is really exciting.
Couldn't agree more, Kevin. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.